QRM Office 5521, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Today is the 8th October 2021. We will have a conversation here. Indeed, it's not the issue that we will move. Unfortunately, we couldn't move until this time, which was the futurism as finances. We will have a procedure here, quite simple. As part of an emergency, we could observe the two main structural designs of transnational organized crime. This pattern indeed is a distribution of chairs by nepotism and privilege, and of course that we can have the issues, the crime prepared based on those issues, and the variance of scams, and the integration of issues give the architecture of the transnational organized crime on present time. We could have a model of control considering the transnational organized crime an activity that goes inside the states, considering distortion at cities, and these for sure interconnected by international purpose as illicit activity. This design set this movement, as you can observe, distribution as line and columns, which is the hierarchical distribution as columns, and it's pointing to geopolitical power, and workflow as departments involved on it, or offices at the corporate area. Then we could check three different patterns as organized crime, basically as design and workflow, which was the first one, the perception as association, and this association with failures take advantage of two different sites, and the site by itself is named coalition scam. The second one, it's the same idea, but the distortion indeed is the continued flow with at one side, and the other that didn't have the failure will be associated with this area which has exponential behavior as variance of scams, and you have the distribution contaminating the other area. Our medical theory and health, if you have the proper lead time, maybe you will avoid this contamination as conjuncture by a mental illness, which is the cretinism. The wrongdoing sets the idiotism. They keep wrongdoing. Then we could have that this model indeed will have this pattern of association and a fusification. Here, switching the side as variance, for instance, public and corporate, and the variance indeed will be switched as an internal movement of those coalitions to keep this kind of listed advantage. We have our general portfolio, and then we will expose now the procedure considering this third movement as transnational organized crime, which is a scam from corruption, criminal association, transnational organized crime, acting as white collar crime, tax evasion, financial evasion, committing crimes as industrial crime or as piracy, immaterial asset stealing, and violations, and espionage, sabotage, a lot of things. Which is this test? It's quite simple to understand, it's easy, and indeed it's made. And then you, my new old friend at the international, at the US court, will request this information, which is, we will consider distortions made at two segments. I will have a pause here and we will continue. We will observe that is like this. As we could have, I suffered abuse, I would say, or violations at my rights as communication, which is part of the consumer activity and the consumer field. And it's like this. We have a company here. Indeed, this company is a fusion between Brazil and Mexico. Of course, that this macro conjuncture as Brazil and Mexico setting this company want will present the arguments favored by embassies, for instance, if required by the US Supreme Court. They will say that it's impossible to have this, and will protect the criminal scam. And this is the communication. Com means communication sector. And I have a bank account which was suggested to put the price there, but it's a simulation. You will not put the price there without request my option, my opinion, or something like this, which is the bank. And we can observe that the complaint about the communication has a period before, right? The bank is a small period in the last 48 hours, right? And if we have failures at the communication, for instance, pointing to the public area, which is the idea of deep web scam, communication. And now we will request the people that have an entrance at these specific agents of one specific bank during the very peculiar and specific period, which is the last 48 hours. Right? Because the failure indeed is presented as the abusive procedure, which is a law. If you continue a illegal procedure against someone that you know that is innocent or something like this, you committed this abuse. But indeed we had the abuses committed to protect criminal scams at public departments from the top to the bottom, criminals inside, criminal workflow, criminal communication, which is the fraud and fake data, 313A of our criminal law, plus the criminal organogram will point a leader by these variables that you request the information or request enact the order to seizure the captured image and the internal circuit of these specific agents as the bank, in the last 48 hours. And then we will have the cross-cut inside the security forum, put them all inside this area here. And this box is the prison. They will be sent to the United States to have the accomplishment as prison inside the federal unit as prisonal institution. They can offer, as plea bargain suggested, the authorities that are leading this scam or enacting the order. And then we will advance it in all things inside this systematic accusation, putting all on jail, send them to a boat inside a neutral area as jurisdiction with prevalence of the most benefit guarantees. This scam indeed we can have, but we couldn't have now because I'm the victim. And the international authorities or the authorities inside the criminal scam can offer the plea bargain, and this plea bargain indeed will point the public corruption authorities from the top are the real criminals linked with sometimes big mobs there. And as you can observe, we are working with things authentic that we did in the last 48 hours considering the model. I will put you all in jail and I'm doing this. Then we will have that the freedom can happen after you have everything against one specific group or peers, especially at the top of an institution, which can be corporate as the IBM or the Unisys, or a multilateral organization as the United Nations or the International Criminal Court, World Trade Organization or World Health Organization, which indeed are all departments of the United Nations. And it's a failure, presenting a failure, which is the continuity of criminals, putting the cards at the game, the cretinism to idiotism. Here we have the pure freedom, which is my case. You are an idiot and you will be sent to an international prison by an international declaration considering a judge not partial or not corrupted court. The database Sigma was offered to NATO as part of my self-defense module. Have a nice weekend.